Well, welcome to the Valley Hoops Insider website and our Voices of the Valley segment with the legend Dave Snell of the Bradley Braves and our kind of annual visit together here at Arch Madness. I don't want to talk about the game yet. We'll talk about the game in just a minute.
Okay.
For people that are new, you know what I've learned, Dave, is that there are guys that have more rings around their tree, like yourself and myself, that have some history and love this league so much. But there are newcomers into our league that just are learning how special it is. Talk a little bit about the special nature both of our league and of this tournament.
Well, first of all, our league is a fraternity. I mean, and there's no better example than when Art Haynes had his situation, and the prayers that went out, and the genuine concern from all the people in the valley. And I remember that you set up a video message to send to him. Mike Reese, who's now retired, who I miss, he's one of my best friends, and he and I went to the appreciation night they had for art in Springfield. And that just goes to show how much camaraderie we had, and people that have gone on now and retired, Gary Moran, Dick Lutke, and all of those people. And you're right, the new people that are coming along have to know, first of all, the fraternity that they are joining.
Sure.
And secondly, to know, to see the different facilities around the league. And this is a people person business, is what it is. And the play-by-play and the actual games that go along with it. But it's nothing compared to the people and the young men and women that you meet on a daily basis, not only on your team, but other teams. You get to watch, and it's just really rewarding. And you know what? It keeps you young.
I'm trying to stay young. The Braves and your time there, just talk, how long have you been at Bradley doing the games, and talk about that start and just the sweetness of it now.
45 years. If I had to listen to a tape of my first year, I wouldn't like it very much because you learn to pace yourself. You learn. I used to write down when I first did games ways to describe a score, so I wouldn't get stuck on anything, and I would use a different one. So there are a lot of things that you learn and pick up and learn from the coaching staffs. And there have been various numbers and doing it different ways. Dick Versace and Tony Baroni, who was one of my very, very close friends at the beginning. So they were patient with me as well. And then came Stan Albeck, who had been in the NBA and ran an offense that he used for George the Iceman Gervin when he was coaching the Spurs.
I love talking to guys like you that have names and past and history. It's so fun.
And then he just dropped Hersey Hawkins into that for Bradley, and 3,008 points later. The interesting thing, I was in television at that time too, and I did an interview with Hersey when he came from Westinghouse, and he was 6'3", and he was a back-of-the-basket post man. And I said, well, Hersey, what kind of a player are you? He says, I'm a team player first. I really don't like to shoot the ball very much at all. Wow. I just like to make my other teammates put him in a position to score. So then 3,008 points later, he played in the NBA and played for the Olympic team and whatever. But then the other coaches, a great defensive coach, Jim Molinari, who was really a riot.
After dinner speaker.
Oh, he's so good. And then Jim Les came back to school, and at Bradley, where he was a legend with Hersey, was Valley Player of the Year. And then after he left, Gino Ford came in, and Gino's probably the nicest, funniest guy that I've ever worked with.
Wow.
And then now Brian Wardle, who the program was really down when he came in, and won 5 games the first year and then the second year. But I have learned so much basketball from Brian Wardle. He just has a natural ability, and everybody's accountable. And in this day and age, That doesn't happen a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so Brian is like, to me, a collection of all of those people put into one.
He's a lot more personable, I think, than people know that don't know him and maybe haven't been around him enough to see it. I really enjoy him as well. The other day they won a game that was, what my friend Kevin Lehman always calls a rock fight, when nobody can score, and they won a game that was in the low score. And afterwards, Brian talked about it. He said Jim Molinari would have been proud of it.
He would have loved it.
And so he and I talked about that. I said that was the most amazing quote for a couple of reasons. It's true. He knows Bradley history, even though that's not his Bradley history.
Right.
And giving a shout out to the former guy, and the old time fans were like, oh yeah, we get it. I mean, I thought that was masterful.
48-45, like a regional high school championship game.
Yeah.
But so you can win different ways, and obviously it was a difficult shooting night for them. But he has a great grasp of the history of Bradley,
Mm-hmm.
and now the crowds have gone from post-COVID now up in the range where we used to be.
9 out of the 12 Valley schools had increase in attendance this year. Southern, which I won't get into the whole nightmare that is right now, meaning the firing of Brian Mullins, but their attendance went up last year, and it went up again this year. They won 20 plus games last year, 19 this year, and Brian's looking for a job. That is a whole editorial thing that I'll probably get to at some point. But the league, 9 out of 12 teams have grown in attendance this year. That's great stuff for somebody like me that loves the league. Let's talk about your Braves. I don't want to keep you forever. Coming to this semifinal game, they've had a good year, not a great year, if I can say it that way. I think Brian would say it the same way. Played really well last night. Talk about the Braves and what they need to do today against a really great Drake team.
You got to have at least 35 minutes of quality basketball, because Drake has the ability to run points fast.
Yeah, they do.
So if you're not glued in mentally and you let up for a minute, you can find yourself double digits behind. It happened yesterday when they played, and that was a team against a team that pushed them to the end, and they had to hit a last second shot after a three tied it. So the thing about the Braves is, and Brian, he has the ability during the course of their careers to build them up.
They get better, don't they? They
really
get better at Bradley. That's not a small thing. And frankly, they usually get better in the season, not just year to year.
Right. It happens. A classic example is Darius Hannah. In his freshman and sophomore year, he was thin. He needed work in the weight room. He needed to get stronger. He did that. He worked in the summer, and now he's a legitimate five-man. And Connor Hickman, the difference between 1 year to a very good player to we thought he'd be a second teamer, and what he did last night in the second half.
So good.
Duke Dean, 5'8". I call him the 170-pound, 5'8" stack of Cajun dynamite. Against Missouri State, he hits 9, sets a school record. So it's work.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go in at 10 in the morning to talk to the coaches in the office and they're down there shooting, that's how you get better. And it's always tough love, too. And they know that it's all business. And if they don't know where they're supposed to be on a certain position, they don't forget it. And I like that, too.
You and I are privileged to be around players, around coaches, around games, around practices. And sometimes, like yesterday, my position was by the Bradley bench. Sometimes you announce by the bench,
Sure.
And sometimes you're on the opposite side, like you are here at the Enterprise Center. But I was just there at the end of the game because I was going to talk to Brian right after the game. And watching him also interact with his coaches and his players in real time, while it's going on. Why is he doing that? He's asking people over here. Then he's yelling out. I mean, he's active, he's engaged, but it's instruction. Like, he's not one of those guys that somebody messes up and he's just mad at him. He might be mad at him, but he's He's correcting, he's teaching, he's guiding. It was for me like a fun, like you said, you keep learning. I was just learning watching him coach last night.
Well, with his assistants, they make suggestions that he listens to
Mm.
during the course of the game and runs a play. And when it works, I mean, these guys work all the time in preparation. That's the one thing about the Valley. There are no secrets.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what everybody else does. And so it's an interesting game of chess.
Talk about so let's talk about how you think they will defend Tucker DeVries tonight.
Well, first of all, they'll throw Malavai at him. But
Player of the year will be guarded by the defensive player of the year. That seems smart.
It is. But he can't do that for as long as Tucker's on the floor, because you need a blow as well. And then and Connor Hickman will, take him on as well. The two best defensive players. And you got Darnell Brody to worry about as well. That's why they're so good. They have those two, and they're supporting players. Darren has just done a terrific job of building that program. They remind me a lot of the old Creighton Blue Jays, because they had stud players, but it was the supporting cast that really made them great.
Yeah, a long time. Darren was an assistant there at Creighton. You mentioned the defensive setups and the way they'll go about it. I talked to Darren yesterday before they took on Evansville and how they were going to slow down Hummercuts. He said, well, I'm going to put Overton on him for a while, and because he's fast and a good defender and like that. And he said, and then I'm going to completely switch it and put a small guy on him to just confuse him. And I watched the whole game play out, and they did exactly that, and they shut the guy down. These coaches think it through and plan it out. They're amazing to watch. Before I let you go, the Braves, let's say they win today and lose tomorrow. They're not going to the NCAA tournament. Are they a team that likes to go play in the CBI or CIT or one of those things?
Will not play in those. They'll play in the NIT, but those are things that you have to, with your program, you have to set a bar to reach. And if you don't reach it, work in the summer to get there the next time. So no, they will, I don't want to say never, but not with this coach. You won't.
Yeah.
You won't go to one of those alphabet tournaments.
I had the same conversation with Casey Alexander the other day, and he didn't shut the door, but it wasn't very far open.
Right.
For the same reasons.
Because you want your program to be at an apex. Mm. And when you do that, you sell out a little bit. You don't go here. Well, we can go here. No, it has to be an upward plane.
That's Dave Snell. He's the Hall of Fame broadcaster for the Bradley Braves. Been doing it forever. My good friend. That's the biggest part for me. He's my good friend.
It's the relationships, right?
That's exactly right. Thanks for watching. You've been watching the Valley Hoops Insider. We call it Voices of the Valley on the Valley Hoops Insider website. I'm Harry Schroeder reminding you, since you've been there, make it a better place. We'll see you again real soon.